Hello chums! Some of you may remember about 6 months ago, I uploaded a video where I revealed my very ratty Suzuki Swift Sport, which believe it or not, is one of my Gran Turismo dream cars. And I've wanted one for 15 years, ever since trying it out in Gran Turismo 5. In the 6 months since that video, I have done nothing. There's a couple of reasons for that, the main one being that I was in the middle of applying for a mortgage and moving house. I wanted to record whatever I did to the car, but my old rented accommodation had no parking, so it's not exactly ideal recording car projects on the side of the road. Now I have that most luxurious of things, a driveway, for my cheap, awful cars. We moved in a few months ago, and since then a mixture of my real job, cold weather, and a depressing lack of motivation have stopped me from doing anything other than just driving the cars. When it comes to the Swift, I did want to record some projects sooner, but at the same time I wanted to wait. The main reason for that is when I bought the car, it was reasonably clean. By that, I mean the previous owners had taken the Swift to one of those hand car wash places where a bunch of underpaid morons clean your car with a pressure washer that has more recoil than a 12 gauge. I like seeing a difference, so I left it to get suitably muddy. A few comments on my original video suggested that I should call a detailer to come out and make my car look fresh. Thing is, in my neck of the woods, the person you call to do that is actually me. I'm not going to call myself a detailer because every tosspot with a bucket and sponge is calling themselves a detailer these days, but my real job outside of this whole YouTube gig is running my own business as a mobile car cleaner. As a result, you can guarantee the only greasy mittens cleaning these stains will be mine. So today I'm going to tackle the interior. When I first took ownership, the interior was reasonably tidy, save for some utterly repugnant front seats. The seats still look like they should be in an exclusion zone, but now the rest of the interior sort of matches. The carpets and floor mats are quite thoroughly caked to give me some entertainment, but the ugliest bit is the center console. The gear shift gator has got some oil-based tyre dressing from the aforementioned underpaid morons for reasons beyond comprehension, while the cup holders are harbouring some complementary mould to graduate this interior from messy to biohazard. Now, before I do anything at all, quick disclaimer, I am filming this on a potato. It's some stupid Motorola smartphone I was forced to buy because my 15-year-old phone had its network switched off. The autofocus will repeatedly make my footage look like crap, and there's no settings to lock the focus. Better still, I'm one of the worst camera operator people thingies on the planet, so the angles are probably terrible as well. Soz, before I get started, I need to remove the crap. So out goes the dog bed for when I take Fat Boy and Shit for Brains out for a walk. Along with it goes the old towels and rags I bring with me on the off chance Shit for Brains gets car sick. Aside from that, it's a jump pack and some CDs. Remember those?
Well, for those of you who give a toss, I have been listening to Soundgarden, for obvious reasons, Black Label Society, for equally obvious reasons, and A Killer's Confession. You've probably never heard of them.
When deep cleaning the interior of one of my cars for the very first time, one of the most satisfying things to do is remove the front seats entirely to really see how much shite is hiding underneath. In the case of the Swift, it's a fairly simple affair. The seats are held in by 4 E10 Torx bolts and a small wiring plug underneath for the airbags. Unlike your average Vauxhall, the bolts aren't massively over-tightened, so my only challenge for undoing them was my own butterfingers. Once the bolts were undone, the wiring plug proved to be a slight pain in my neck, quite literally. The harness is held on by 2 chunky cable ties, and my cheap wire cutters struggle to get through them. Wire cutters, my fat ass. After an embarrassing amount of time, the harness was freed off so I could better see the plug, which was a simple case of clumsily ramming a small flathead screwdriver in to release it. Cheeky little shit. Mercifully, the seats are not the heaviest out there, despite the inbuilt airbags, and the massive doors on the Swift made lifting the seats out very easy. This is in stark contrast to my Volvo 240, which has tiny door openings and front seats which weigh over 20 kilograms apiece. I laid out an old mattress cover on my garden to rest the seats on while tackling the horrors underneath, and so that I could better clean the actual undersides of the seats themselves. Speaking of horrors, I have no idea what that stain was, but I assume it started life as a liquid, and has very much become a solid. Realising that removing the rear seats was also an easy job, I decided to give myself even more work. The backrest quite literally just sits in place due to the lack of a centre seat belt, which means you just give it a good pull and it pops out. My first pull wasn't very good. It took me a minute to figure out the bench, but it was a case of 2 fasteners at the front and some weird hoop slotted through a metal bracket at the rear. Very technical stuff for my pea-brain when you also consider the seatbelt buckles, which were lazily shoved through holes in the seat itself. Now, I have a mild obsession with weight saving, so in an ideal world I would be leaving the rear seats in the shed, but for now this little shitbox will remain a 4-seater. Currently, however, it's got 0 seats. With everything out, I could finally start attacking things with my vacuum cleaner. For those wondering, my vacuum cleaner is a Nuvac. This is basically a Henry Hoover without the windy bit at the top. These things will probably outlive humanity, and they cost roughly £100, so I can't complain. It has also been complemented with one of those cheap eBay nozzle kits, which has a crevice tool and a brush. The brush is great for cleaning dust off the plastic trim or dashboard, the crevice nozzle concentrates the machine's suck into a smaller area, and I've got a little paintbrush to agitate the corners. The boot floor carpet is fairly torn up, so results weren't going to be perfect, but I'm not all that concerned since it's mostly concealed by the false floor. Once it was presentable enough, I pulled it out to clean the metalwork underneath. The jacking kit had some assorted tools which clearly weren't there from factory, so I removed the whole thing to sort through it later on. There was some standing water in the well underneath it, so I threw an old washcloth in there to soak up the worst of it whilst I cleaned everywhere else. Cleaning areas you will never see during typical usage could be seen as a waste of time, but I do get a certain level of satisfaction from it, so I do this in every car I own from time to time. Once I had sucked off the loose bits, I very gently attacked the surfaces with some all-purpose cleaner. Which all-purpose cleaner? Built Hamber Surfex HD. This stuff is pretty damn excellent, and you can use it for just about anything, including this metalwork, plastic trim, upholstery, tyres, engine stuff, and even wheels if you don't water it down as much. Simply agitating with a detailing brush loosens the worst of the grime, which I soak up with a damp cloth and then dry with an old microfiber towel. Yes, I know the towel looks like crap. I don't use fresh ones for non-bodywork related things. Once everything was sufficiently clean, I returned the polystyrene jacking kit thingy into its rightful place, though I did remove several of the tools. Not much point in having a jacking kit if there's nowhere to put a spare wheel, is there? That saved about 2 kilograms. Did I mention I'm obsessed with weight reduction? From there I moved forwards, attacking the space underneath where the rear seats live. I'm assuming that previous owners have had some of those weird small people, I think they're called children, in the back of this car at some point, because there was plenty of debris that had fallen down the side. While it can look rather ugly, it's very easy to clean because the dirt and grime hasn't been pushed into the carpets by feet. Irregularly used areas of the interior are often quite easy to get a decent result with. I then moved on to the ugliest part of the car, underneath the passenger side front seat, where that congealed solidified food stuff had settled. To start with, I sucked up the worst of the stains and mould with my trusty Nuvac, before soaking the ugliest bits with some more Surfex HD. Leaving those bits to hopefully soften up, I worked on the surrounding areas to remove the year's worth of debris. While Suzukis have a reputation for flimsy, low-quality interiors, I actually get on rather well with them as far as my work is concerned, because they're very easy to clean. You can quite easily get a really good result on an old Suzuki Swift. For me at least, the most important part of an interior is the carpet quality, and most cheap brands like Nissan or Ford will use quite thick fibrous carpet, which is an absolute nightmare to clean. Believe it or not, some of the worst interiors I've come across are actually Volkswagens. Imagine trying to vacuum clean a giant sheet of Velcro, and you're getting somewhere. Suzukis, meanwhile, have very thin carpets with no loose fibres. This is bad for sound insulation, but it's great for cleaning. As you can see from the footage, after the ugly stains had been left to soak, I re-vacuumed them. The stains weren't completely removed though, so normally I'd grab my wet vac and perform a more dedicated deep clean of the area, but I had limited time on my hands, so I had to move on. The Swift did have some proper Suzuki official foot mats, which had gone a long way in protecting the high traffic areas, which meant the footwells were a comparative doddle. Next up, I put the foot mats back in their rightful place, to clean them. Since they're fitted to the contours of the interior, they don't move about, so that makes them easier to hoover. I just said hoover again, didn't I? Okay, so for those who don't know, Hoover is a company that makes vacuum cleaners in the same way that Jacuzzi makes hot tubs. Here in the UK, the majority of us common pigs will refer to a vacuum cleaner as a Hoover, regardless of the brand. So here I am hoovering with my Hoover that's not made by Hoover. I then cleaned the little door recess. These little cavities are fantastic containers for whatever shit comes off your hands, but believe it or not, I have seen much worse. Spraying with more Surfex HD, agitating with a brush, and sucking with Hoover does the job. I then moved on to the other side of the car, which was unsurprisingly more of the same. While live-action fossil-fueled cleans, I'll take this time to tell you that I do have 4 other cars, and they're all in a fairly sorry state like this one. So if you'd like to see me trying to breathe some life back into my various other shit cars, please do comment down below. I've got plenty of car related projects which are desperately overdue thanks to the recent house move. And if this video gets a decent number of views, I'll happily film more of my progress. Hopefully I'll get a tad better with my camera work in the process as well. Next up, I dusted off the centre console. The handbrake is a breeding ground for dust and filth, and responds very well to a jolly good tickle from a paintbrush. The worst bit was further forwards though, where a disgusting clump of mould had made its home on the ill-fitting seam. Since the console trim barely stays in place, I lifted it up to agitate the grime underneath the seam. I then moved on to the even more grim area surrounding the gear shifter. As you can see, the shift gaiter did have a thick layer of hand grease, which I did decide to give an extra scrub off camera after spending far too long on camera with lacking results. Moving back to the handbrake trim, I had another go with the hoover before soaking, agitating and wiping the grime stuck in the seams around the buttons which aren't actually buttons. I then dealt with the driver's footwell. I started by giving the foot mat a quick dusting off before removing it entirely to degunk underneath. Rather stupidly, I set the camera angle up in such a way that the aluminium sport pedals were just out of view, so we don't get to see me cleaning those. Either way, it was a simple case of spraying some more all-purpose cleaner on, agitating with a brush, and then hoovering up what's left. While the camera doesn't do it justice, I also dusted off the fluff around the steering column, and then gave it a more thorough scrub off camera. With that done, my empty interior was significantly improved. And while it was by no means perfect, the car was aging pretty well, especially when you consider it's 19 years old and has nearly 170,000 miles on the clock. Since all of the immovable parts were done, it was time to deal with all the stuff that I'd dumped outside, starting with the false floor that goes in the boot. It was a simple case of attacking it with my smiley-faced vacuum cleaner. Afterwards I sprayed it down with more all-purpose cleaner and agitated it with a brush attached to a cordless drill. If you ever clean upholstery, a drill brush is the most valuable tool in your arsenal, followed by a wet vac. This is a vac spot wash, which is great when it works, but the flexible hose will split after about 5 minutes of use. Slight exaggeration, it's a bit more than 5 minutes. Once again, I wasn't going for total perfection with this false floor, so there was still some minor evidence of past stains after giving it a pat down with an old towel. Next up, it was time to be a tad more thorough with the foot mats, and to do that, I used this. The Karcher K4 is a total bastard and I hate it, but it's one of the cheapest pressure washers that can suck water out of a bucket, which is very handy if you don't have a tap or a hose pipe nearby. I typically find that a jolly good pressure wash of a fabric foot mat is a surefire way to get a much better result, rather than breaking your back agitating it with a drill brush and a wet vac. I do recommend vacuum cleaning off the loose stuff first though, as I did. Once the mat was thoroughly pressure washed, I employed a small trick. By removing the head from my wet vacuum, I can use it to push out the worst of the soaked in water before actually using the wet vac itself to draw out what's left. With daylight beginning to fade, I gave the rear bench my attention next. When I do a thorough clean of upholstery, I typically spray the seat with water from the fresh tank inside the wet vac. I then spray on some cleaner, yes that one again, before agitating the socks off of it with a drill brush. From there, another coating of water follows and the wet vac does the rest. Other than the mould stain, which is in a very suspect location between someone's legs, the rear seat really wasn't too bad to begin with. You can just about see a tiny blue mark in the top right which appeared to be either chewing gum or blue tack, and as a result it had hardened and didn't quite come out all the way, but I didn't really have time to be more thorough. With my remaining daylight, I gave the front seat a quick dust off from every conceivable angle with the vacuum, being sure to agitate in the runners and in the gaps around the adjustment levers. The biohazard stains would have to wait for the next day. Day 2. Weather on day 2 was considerably more shit. It had rained overnight so the ground was sodden. I started by cleaning the rear seat backrest, which I hadn't managed to touch the day before. As you may be able to tell, this section of carpet on the back of the seat is a different material to the rest of the interior, and it's very similar to what you'll find in the aforementioned Fords, Nissans or Volkswagen Golf. Or to put it another way, it's utterly awful. The loose, fibrous material will hold onto bits of dust and grime like its life depends on it. Due to the lack of quality, the end result wasn't quite as good as the rest of the car, but it was good enough for me. While there weren't any particularly obvious stains on the backrest, I still gave it the same thorough agitation and wet vac as the rest of the interior. Interestingly, the seat itself seemed to be permanently imprinted with marks from the headrests and seat belts. I'm assuming the exposed material had faded while that which was obscured by the belts was the original colour. Oh well. I then grabbed the front seats, which I had left inside the car overnight. I recorded my process with just the passenger seat, since it doesn't have the ugly bolster tear like the driver's seat does. Once again, it was a case of working section by section. I wet the area using the fresh water tank on the wet vac, liberally applied some Surfex HD, agitated with a partially charged drill brush, and sucked up the ugly stuff. Since the front seats were so utterly rancid, I repeated this process multiple times in certain sections. It may seem odd that I'm using an all-purpose cleaner to deal with upholstery, but built Amber Surfex HD really is all-purpose. Depending on how much you can water it down, as I mentioned, it can be used on carpets, seats, interior plastics, exterior plastics, tyres, engine bays, and even wheels if you use a stronger mixture. It's great for me as far as my job is concerned because it cuts down on the number of products I need to keep stock of. Since I was technically home alone on day 2, I also had a concerned audience wondering where my other half was.
What do you want, you pricks?
I tackled the driver's seat off camera and managed a surprisingly decent result on that as well. So with that, it was time to reassemble the Swift Sport. Refitting the seats was another case of spending way too long trying to get the wiring plug, plugged in. From there, the rear bench was just as awkward because you're never 100% sure if you heard the correct click from the retaining fasteners. I then made a tit of myself refitting the backrest with a terrible camera angle, and by this point it was once again too dark to get any closing shots. Day 3. The foot mats had finally dried, so I could put them back and get some footage of the end result. I didn't think to get any sexy before and after photos, so maybe I'll remember that in a future video. Either way, this 167,000 mile 19-year-old hatchback was looking significantly happier. It's been a very long time since I've put some genuine effort into one of my own cars, and it's made me slightly depressed, so it was nice to get this old thing looking decent. Let me know if you'd like to see me manhandle some of my other rubbish cars in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this very poorly filmed video. Do take care of yourself, and ta-ra.